Okay, so previously in this unit we've been talking about simplifying radicals that are both rational and irrational, and we've done all that because when we get to completing the square, you're going to have to simplify. When we get to completing the square, you're going to have to solutions that have radicals in the answer. So before we get started, I first want you to have factor this. So we're taking back to our factoring unit 1. So we're taking solve. So I guess I should add solve. So I guess I should add solve to both of these. So pause this video and factor number 1 and number 2. Okay, so to factor these, if I'm thinking about my factors of 16 that add up to 10 and of 16 that add up to 10 and trick. So they're both going to be positive, so they're both going to be positive, so x plus 8 is equal to 0. And then I can set both of my factors equal to 0. And I get x equals negative 8, x equals negative 2. So I get two answers. Those are my two answers. If I go on to the next one and I'm factoring this one, factors of 25 that add to be 10, well that's easy. 25 that add to be 10, well that's easy. So and they're both positive. So then I set both of my factors equal to 0 when I solve. So 5 equals 0. I get x equals negative 5 for both. So really I just have one solution, x equals. Okay. So we're all warmed up. We know how to factor and solve that way. So that is one method of solving quadratic equations. But what happens when you can't factor? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you remember, the standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So this is what a quadratic formula should look like in standard form. Sometimes you might have to move. Sometimes a c will start over here and you've got to move it over here to get the start equal to 0. But it should always be set equal to 0. But it should always be. So my next question to you. Is this for x squared minus 9 a quadratic equation? So take a minute, pause the video, and see if you can figure it out. Okay. The answer is yes. Okay. And if you notice, a is equal to 4, and c is equal to negative 9, but there is no b value. So our b value is actually just 0. So our b value, but we wouldn't write just 0 in this case. But we wouldn't write x. So we just don't write the b value. 0x. But it is indeed quadratic because of that x. If you look at number 4 is also quadratic. It just is not in standard form. So to get it in standard form, we have to have this side equal to 0. So we might subtract 6 on both sides. So we might subtract x squared plus 4x. To get x squared minus 4x equals 0. So this would be in standard form and is indeed awesome. Alright, so let's move on here. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is perfect square trinomial. A perfect square trinomial. An example of this would be x squared plus 10x plus 25, which we factored before. And it is a perfect square trinomial because when you factor it, you get the same factor for both factors. Which means you can write it as a square. And we know how to solve these. We've been working kind of with the past couple days. So that is why perfect square trinomials are friends. It's because we can So what I would like you to do is I would like to ask yourself, is this one a perfect square? See if you can factor it and see if it is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so if I do factor this, the factors of 9 that add up to 6 are 3 and 3. So I should get x plus 3. And that is indeed a perfect square trinomial because I can write it like that. So if you notice, the factor is the thing that adds up to be 3 and it multiplies to be 9 and they're the same thing. So what I would like you to do now is take a minute and on your note sheet, identify if these are perfect square trinomials or not. So either write yes it is or no it isn't. So either write yes it is or no it isn't and give the factors if it is. Okay, so if I do look at the factors of 49, I'll do 7 and 7 add up to 14, yes. 7 and 7 add up to 14, so this is a perfect square trinomial. If we look at B here, If we look at B here, 13, only factors of 13 and 1 are 13 and 1. They add to 13 and 1 are 13 but the factors aren't the same. Like the factors aren't the same. So this one like over here is not. So this one is not. C, the factors of 36 are 6 and 6. The factors of 36 are 6 and 6. And they do add to 12. So this is they do add to 12. So this is square trinomial. D, let's see, the only factors of 5 and 1
D, let's see, the only factors of 5 and 1
are only factors of 5 and 1.
Yeah,
we cannot have a combination of those to make a negative 8. So this isn't even factorable.
Make a negative 8. So this isn't even
So it's not a
factorable.
perfect square trinomial.
So it's not a perfect square trinomial.
This one here, let's see, what are the factors of
this one here? Let's see, what are the factors of
that can
9
add to be a negative 6?
That
Well,
can
3
add to
and
be a
3
negative
won't work.
6.
Well,
But
-3
negative
and
3
3
won't work.
And negative 3
But
will.
negative 3.
So actually our factors for this,
So actually our factors for this
equals 0,
is x minus 3 and x
which I
minus
can
3
still
equals
just
0.
write as x
Which I
minus
can
3
still
squared.
just
So this
write
is
as x minus 3 squared.
perfect
So this
square
is
trinomial.
a perfect square.
And finally F.
And finally,
Let's see, the
F.
factors of positive 4 that gets to negative 4, that would be negative 2
positive
and
4
2.
that gets
So
to
yes,
negative
this
4,
is
that would be negative 2 and 2. So yes, this is.
So if you notice, this number here,
half of B
is
our B
half
value,
of
which is
B,
negative 6, and it's
our
the
B value, which is
square,
negative 6,
and it's
the
the
factor
square.
squared is this number here.
The factor
So,
squared is this number.
that's all leading up, so we can solve.
That's all leading
By
up, so
completing
we can
the square.
solve. So if you
By completing
keep
the square.
going, so if you
How can
keep
I
going,
make this a perfect square?
How
Pause
can
the
I
video and
make
see if you can
this
figure
a
out what I
perfect
might have
square?
to
Pause
add
the
to
video
both
and see if you
sides so
can
that way
figure out
this
what I
side
might
here
have
is
to
a
add to
perfect
both
square
sides so that way
trinomial.
this side here is a perfect square trinomial.
Okay, so if you notice, my B value is 8.
If you notice, my B value
And
is
if I can
8.
take, if I can split that in
And if
half
I
and
can
then
take-
times those
if I can
factors by each
split
other,
that in half
I
and
can
then
get
times
the
those
perfect
factors by each
square.
other, I can get
C
the
value
perfect
there.
square.
So half
C
of
value
8
there.
is actually 4,
So
and 4
half of
squared
8
is 16.
is actually 4, and 4
So
squared is 16.
I can take
So
this
I
equation
can
and I can
take this
add
equation,
16 to both sides.
and I can add 16 to both
So that way I
sides.
can make this trinomial a perfect square on this
this
side.
trinomial a perfect square on
So
this
perfect.
side.
So to make
So
any
perfect.
trinomial perfect
So
square,
to make any trinomial
I can take
perfect
half
square,
of the B value like we did.
I can take
We took
half of the B value like we did,
and then we
we took half of
squared the
8
B
and
value.
made
So
4, and
4
then we
squared was
squared the B value.
16.
So 4 squared
And
was
the squared
16.
value is always going to be a
And
positive number
the
because
squared
even a
value is always
negative
gonna be
number
a
squared, a
positive
negative
number
times a
because even a
negative is
negative
always going to
number
be a
squared, a
positive.
negative times a
So that
negative
number is
is
always
always
going to be a positive. So that number is always.
So let's
gonna
get
be
right
a
into it.
positive. If you go down,
So let's get right into it.
number
If you go
1,
down,
you can solve by completing
number
the square.
1,
So I'm
you can
going to
solve by
ignore this
completing
number
the
here, and
square.
I'm going to ignore that
So I'm
number
going to
there.
ignore this number
If
here.
I
and
want
I'm
to
gonna
make this a
ignore that
perfect
number
square
there.
trinomial,
If
I want to
make
take
this
half
a
of this
perfect
B value.
trinomial,
So my B
I wanna
value
take
is
half of
12
this
here.
B value. So my B
I'm going to
value
take
is
half
12
of that.
here. I'm going to take
So
half
half
of
of B is actually 6. And if
So
I
half of B is
square that
actually
value,
6.
and if I square that
I get
value,
36.
so I really want this number to right here to be
So I really
36.
want this number to right
So to
here
do
be
that,
36.
all I have to do
So to do that,
is add 33
all I have
because
to do
33 plus 3 is
is
going to
add
give me
33
36.
because 33
And
plus
whatever
3
I
is
do
gonna
to one
give me
side, I have to do
36.
to the other.
And whatever I do to one side, I
So,
have to do to the other.
x squared plus 12x
X squared
plus 36
plus 12x
equals
plus
33.
36
And now this is super nice.
33. And now this is super
So
nice.
I can factor this side into a perfect square.
So I can factor this
So my
side into
factors
a
would be
perfect
x
square.
plus 6 times x
So my
plus 6
factors would be x plus
equals
6 times
33.
x plus 6
And I
equals
can
33.
rewrite this, and I can rewrite this as x plus 6 squared. Now I can just solve like I've been taught how to before.
Now I can just solve like I've been taught how
So I can
to
take
before.
x plus 6
So I can take
equals
x
plus or
plus
minus the
6
square root of 33.
equals plus or minus the square root of 33.
And let's see, can I simplify that anymore?
Let's see, can I simplify that anymore?
3 and 11, I don't think
3
so.
and 11, I don't think so.
So I don't need to, so I can, last
So I
step to get
don't
epsilon, I
need
can
to, so I
just
can- last step to
subtract
get epsilon, I
6
can
on both
just
sides. So x
subtract
equals
6
negative
on both
6
sides. So x
plus or
equals
minus the
negative
square
6
root of 33.
plus or minus the
And my
square
two
root of
answers,
33.
because everybody knows
And
we
my
have the
two
two
answers,
answers for our
everybody knows we have the
equation.
two answers for our quadratic
Because
equation.
x equals negative 6 plus square root of
Because x
33.
equals negative 6 plus
and
square root
x
of 33.
equals negative 6 minus
And x
square root of
equals
33.
negative 6
And the reason we
minus
write them
square
like
root of
this And the reason we write them like this,
it would just be a
is
silly,
because
super long
it would just be
decimal
a silly,
that we would have to write
super
there. So
long
the most
decimal
exact
that we
answer
would
is
have
the
to
one
write
with
there.
the, so the most
The root
exact
in it.
answer is the one
So,
with the
the
keep
root
your
in it.
answers in this
So,
form if you want
keep
them
your
to be
answers
exact.
in this form if you
Okay.
want them to be exact.
Next question.
Okay.
So next question. Flip number 2.
Okay.
See if you can do number 2 on your own. See
So
if you can
pause the
do number
video.
2 on your own. So pause the video. Okay. So, okay. This number
is -6, so my
this
b
number
value is -6.
is -6, so my b
If I want
value
half
is
of b,
-6.
I'm going to split it in half so I get -3. I'm going to split it in half
And then
so
I'm
I
going
get
to take that half
-3.
value and I'm going to
And
square
then I'm going
it.
to take
So
that
my-
half value
I
and
would
I'm
get
going to
9.
square it.
So to
my-
make this number
I would
right
get
here
9.
9, because that would
So
make
to
it a
make
perfect
this
square
number right here
trinomial.
9, because that would
I'm
make
just
it a
going to
perfect
subtract
square
3 on
trinomial.
both sides. I'm just going to subtract
So I really
3 on
get
both
x
sides.
squared
So I really get
minus
x
6x
squared plus 9
minus 6x
plus 16. Now I can
equals
factor this. I'm going to skip the
Now I can
factoring step and
factor
write.
this.
I'm going to
both
skip
factors. I'm
the
just gonna write
factoring step
this.
and write both factors. I'm just going to write this. So you can write both steps if you want, but you don't need to. So you can write both steps if you want.
Okay, and
but
I
you
know
don't
how to
need
solve this. I gotta take the square root of both sides.
Okay, and I know how to solve this. I
This
gotta
one
take the
looks like
square root
it's
of both
gonna be a
sides.
nice one.
This one
Plus
looks
or
like it's
minus
gonna be a nice
4.
one. This is the square root of 16
Plus or
is
minus
4.
4.
This is the square root of 16
So then all I
is
got left to
4.
do is add 3 on both
So
sides.
then all I got left to do is add
So
3
x
on both
equals 3
sides.
plus or minus 4. So x equals
So to
3
get my
plus
two
or
answers,
minus
I'm going to
4.
take, so to get my two answers, I'm
3
going to take
plus
4, which is 7, 3 plus
And
4,
I'm gonna take
which
3
is
minus
7,
4, which is negative
and I'm going
1.
to take 3
And
minus
those are my
4,
two
which is
answers.
negative 1.
those
And
are
you'll
my two
notice,
answers.
if I did get this back
And you'll
to standard
notice,
form,
if
where
I
I got
did get
0
this
here,
back
and I
to standard
factored this
form, where I
equation,
got 0 here,
it would be
and I
totally
factored this
factorable, and those
equation,
were the
it would
factors
be
that I
totally
would get.
factorable, and those were the
Or those are the
factors that I would
solutions
get.
that would be get when I did the factoring.
Or those are
line.
the solutions that would be get when
So
I
this
did
is
the
nice.
factoring line.
All right,
So
so
this
we
is
did
nice.
2 problems together. I would like you to do
All right,
3
so
and
we did
4
2
tonight
problems
for
together.
home.
I would like you to do 3 and 4
4
tonight
right
for
now,
home.
and then
Or
show me in class
3 and 4
tomorrow.
right now,
and then show me in class tomorrow
that you were able to do these, and we can answer any
that you were
questions
able
you
to
have.
do these, and we can
All right,
answer any
thanks for
questions you
watching.
have. All right, thanks for watching.